Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the stream or follow the link that you see to the podcast episode here. Raptors lose tonight, 139 to 125. Honestly, I know it's been a lot of like ethical tanking or whatever, but I didn't actually mind watching just a chill little blowout. I'm just a chill guy. Sometimes I kind of like a little chill blowout. I think that second half of back-to-back going into the Garden right before Christmas for a young team, again, like you could put whatever excuse out there. I'm not making any excuses. This is a loss all the way. This is a scheduled loss against a damn good Knicks team who definitely have shown you what they can do offensively when they have put up 139 points. You know, the Knicks are so lethal offensively these days that even OG Anunoby is starting to make crazy moves like crossover, step back to shed Scottie Barnes, and then pull up from the mid-range. Shouts to OG because he started this game 11 for 11 from the field, and the Knicks were literally abandoning their entire offense just to feature OG. Like, it was that type of game. And honestly, I didn't mind it. Like, you know, sometimes I get on these post games and I'm like so sort of like, you know, wrapped up in these individual moments. I thought even yesterday against Houston, Raptors took the lead and obviously they blew it and they lost in the fourth quarter. We've seen it a couple times, whatever. But like, there are moments in those games that are like, the Raptors are in it, you know, they're home, you know, they should get more out of those kind of games. And of course, you know, obviously you can hear the recaps. I'm pretty into it. This kind of game, you kind of just know what it is right away. And maybe that's just a function of expectation. But like, yeah, the Knicks obviously are better than the Raptors. The Knicks dominated the Raptors at several positions, starting with Karl-Anthony Towns, who was the best player in this game, completely picked the Raptors apart, did whatever he wanted to, shot it from three, but more impressively, the distributing from the top of the floor, almost honestly Jokic-esque in a way, where he's pulling the opposing center out, creating matchup problems all over the floor for the Raptors. Obviously, Toronto doesn't have Jakob Poeltl because he tore his groin, or he didn't tear his groin. Sorry, he like strained his groin. Big difference. And so you don't have the size to sort of like contend against a guy like Cat. He causes lots of mismatch issues regardless, as like arguably the greatest 3-point shooting five in history. And so, you know, there's all those things that sort of like work in his favor, but he really leveraged all of those strengths. Of course, then you got Jalen Brunson. Then you got Mikal Bridges hitting like quick fire threes. Then you got, you know, Josh Hart sort of, you know, barreling his way to the basket and scoring in transition. And of course, OG also went 11 for 11. Plus, you got Deuce McBride knocking down threes off the bench. Like, you know, obviously, like, Raptors just weren't in it. So, again, like, this is going to be a really chill episode. I know a lot of these rack pods, I get, like, really wrapped up into the game. This is not one of those times. In fact, I actually really enjoyed just the whole sitting back and just chilling viewing experience. Maybe it's because it's also the holidays. It's my birthday as well. So, like, you know, I had a couple of beers. I'm just, like, literally just sitting here watching the game and just kind of, like, enjoying it, not taking it as seriously. And I gotta say, like, honestly, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like, this was actually a pretty fun game just from that perspective alone. I think in terms of the important parts, obviously, Scotty, you know, had a nice bounce back game. You know, first game back, well, not first game back, sorry, the first two games back against Brooklyn and against Houston just weren't great. Obviously, I talked about it in pretty great depth yesterday in terms of just like the approach to the game, sort of like, did he sort of have the energy for the game? Clearly, it was obviously a dud of a game. He went 2 of 15. Afterwards, Darko did go on the podium, and I did hear the press conference afterwards just to make sure the context around the questions and sort of how he answered it. But he was asked about, you know, Scotty had a pretty quiet night, you know, what was going on. He just seemed, you know, didn't really seem that engaged. And he was like, well, you got to remember Scotty's banged up. You know, he's got the ankle injury, then he's got a hip injury, and, you know, he's still wearing the goggles. So, you know, basically, Darko was like, he's not himself because he's injured. But then if you think back, it's like, why did he play 39 minutes then if he's banged up and you know you're tanking, or not, you know you're tanking, but at least you know you're not a winning team. There's no need to sort of like put him through the grinder of 39 minutes if he's banged up. But also, it's like, you know what? I want to see how banged up he is because he's playing the next night. Is he A, going to play? B, how's he going to look when he plays? And the start of this game, I'm like, wow, Scotty's really limping around. Didn't look that great. But then all of a sudden, he started scoring. He started getting going. The broadcast was noting this as well, with Vince on the broadcast too. And all of a sudden, he started moving freely. He started jumping around. He started moving great. And ultimately, he played a really good game. 36 minutes tonight, 24 points to lead the Raptors, 8 assists as well. Had to guard Cat quite a bit, including the entire second half when the Raptors changed up their lineup and went with Cat at center. Or sorry, went with Mobo off the floor and Scotty at center, so he had to guard Cat. So he had to put on a huge shift in addition to something creating as well. But I also just liked the change in approach. It was like two entirely different Scotties, not just with like the ankle or whatever. Like, again, honestly, I really thought Darko was throwing that out there as sort of just like a cover for Scotty. Not to say Scotty's not banged up. I'm not saying they're inventing injuries. We saw, I first personally went down to Scotiabank for a practice like a week and a half ago, and I saw Scotty in a walking boot. So I was like, okay, like obviously we know that he's dealing with a bad ankle, but also at the same time, I do think Darko is like, when he's asked about that, he throws it out there. It's kind of like cover in a way for his player, because the next night when Scotty comes out and does this, I'm not thinking about the ankle injury no more, right? And honestly, it's not about that for me. I think what was really cool about watching this game, because again, like obviously I want him to be physically healthy. If he's available to play, he's available to play. If he's not, whatever, right? What was cool about this performance was, you notice in the first game against Houston last night, right? He shot 5 threes, I think, in the first quarter alone, including one play where the Raptors got like 2-3 offensive rebounds, and he just kept throwing the same three from the same spot, and it just wouldn't go in. And you notice, like, basically until midway through the third quarter, he didn't really go inside. Obviously, Houston is a much better defensive team than New York. But at the same time, Houston wasn't playing that great last night either, right? Like, they played really lackadaisical. I mean, fine, Scotty couldn't get inside because the Rockets defense was great. Well, then how come Jacobe can score 14 straight to start the first quarter, and Grady can go coast to coast and spin, move, and score? You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's just sometimes he doesn't have it. Like, that's normal. Certain guys are not going to have it every single night. Actually, I don't think any player has it every single night. This game, he comes out, and it's not, let's shoot the three right away. Let's try to shoot 3, 4, 5 3 attempts. And, let's not try to shoot like the transition pull-up three. This game, the way he started the game was getting into the post, get into the mid-range area, and dominating from there. And he knocked down a mid-range jumper, another mid-range jumper. He had one where he had a shake and bake, sort of like wiggle the shoulders, turn around, fadeaway jumper. Like, that was super impressive. And then he gets into the post. He's got that little awkward footwork. He's got the little hook shot that he's able to sort of like throw up with either hand. He's got great touch, and he's very soft with the touch on that shot. So lots of times, even if it doesn't go in directly, it hits the rim, it hits the backboard, it drops in. Like, that was beautiful to watch. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I know this is like a bigger NBA-wide discussion of like, is the NBA shooting too many threes? Is that the reason why it's cutting down on NBA entertainment and then ratings being down? And if so, like, how big of a factor is that? And like, obviously, like, that's just down to everyone's preferences and things like that. But I can't lie to you. Like, my personal preferences, I love seeing Scotty go to work in the mid-range, in the opportunities where he's closer to the basket, where he's in the middle of the floor, where every pass is available to him, and defenses have a harder time doubling against him because, again, the pass out is a lot shorter, and then he's able to use his size. I mean, like, the Knicks have pretty good defenders. Like, I think you've heard about Mikal Bridges. I think you've heard about OG Anunoby, what they do defensively. Josh Hart's also a really tough defender, and you saw Scotty just use his size to shoot over the top of those guys. And of course, you still have the other moments where he's taking a strong to the basket. You still have the moments where he's playing in transition. Tonight he didn't even hit a three, but you know what? I don't even remember any of his threes. Not like the last game where it was like he couldn't get the three to drop, and then nothing was going, and then it was kind of like he wasn't really a factor. This game, I thought he was a factor. Now, of course, like, that was not enough of a factor to like change the result whatsoever. Like, the Knicks were going to watch them the whole way. But I loved seeing this version, and I know that like the whole league is trending towards like every single star player is going to shoot more threes, right? Two of the most dynamic players from last season. If you were to ask any NBA fan from last season, who are two of your top 10 players to watch this season, every single fan that's informed would have told you, I loved watching Anthony Edwards this season. I love watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this season, right? This year, both of those guys coming in started shooting the three way more, right? Like, and Wemby too. Let's put all three of these guys in the same combo. Like, these guys up their 3-point volume. Shai's like really working to get this pull-up three dropping. At the start of the year was shooting more threes per game than Steph. He might still be. And of course Wemby has games where he's like taking 10, 12, 15 threes. You know what I mean? Like, and so this is kind of like a general league-wide trend to sort of push your stars to get better and better, and just like, bomb away from three. If you can become a high-volume three-point shooter, it changes everything. And I agree with that. And to some degree, like, of course, I always love the fact that you're developing, and in a year where you're not sort of like playing towards winning as the absolute goal to try to sacrifice a little bit of that for some development. Like, we're all on board for that, right? I haven't heard one person this year be like, wow, like, what are the Raptors doing? Like, they're I can't believe they're losing all these games. I didn't see this coming. Like, I think everyone knew what was going on. But seeing Scottie come out and work in that mid-range and sort of play from a position of strength, get himself into a nice rhythm, and then he starts to get more involved in the game, emotionally gets into the game. He's getting to the basket as well. Those things are good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the difference with some of those other guys is, like, I know Shea can get whatever he wants in the mid-range. I know he can get to the rim all the time. He can get to the free throw line whenever he wants, right? Teams need to double, triple team him. Now you're going to add in the extra layer. That's like the final layer. If he gets that part down, then he's literally unguardable. And he already is unguardable, right? Same thing for Ant. This guy's going to dunk on everybody. His mid-range is also amazing. For a young player, loves to use the glass too. Like, I love that portion. And then Wemby's just an alien. Like, the fact that he can shoot from anywhere is actually, like, super terrifying. But, like, for Scottie, like, he's not on that level yet, right? Like, especially as a scorer. So, let's work on the primary aspects of, like, what he does really well from the scoring, and especially not just, like, on a game-to-game basis, but just, like, how do you get him involved in the game and, like, into the game? And I thought today he was super into it. Now, it didn't work out, and there were moments where I'm like, okay, I see some, like, telltale signs of, like, when Scottie's sort of, like, on tilt a little bit, you can see some signs, right? Like, obviously he's talking to the referees quite a bit. You saw him, he does that thing sometimes where he's like, he needs to make a rotation out to the next guy, but he'll wave him off and be like, nah, I'll just disrespect you because I know you're not a good shooter. One time Precious had it in the corner, his rotation to rotate out there, he literally looked at him, waved him off, and turned his back to him. Precious actually knocked down the three, but you kind of understand what he was doing there. And then probably the most signature Scottie thing is, like, he loves taking the exaggerated charge. And what I mean by that is he sets up for the charge, like, before even rotating. Like, he's not the man on the ball, right? He's the help defender rotating over to the basket. A lot of times he's already there at the basket and he just starts taking the charge. In this case, Karl-Anthony Towns was driving. Grady Dick somehow was ending up on him. Grady tried to take the charge on him. Cat was able to spin around Grady, pick up his dribble, go to the basket. And by the time Cat was at the three-point line, starting to spin downhill, Scottie was already trying to, in position, take the charge. And of course, Cat saw this coming, was able to Euro step and finish around it. So, like, you could see some moments where, again, he was a little on tilt in this game. But in general, this was like, I mean, ask any Raptor fan, would you rather watch this game that he played against the Knicks or the last game he played against the Houston Rockets? And even if he made a bunch of threes, like, cool, maybe that changes things, but ultimately defenses aren't going to adjust to that. I think really it's about hammering the basics, right? Like, if you're teaching your kid and it's like and you're trying to teach them math, like, let's get, like, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division down before we teach them integrals. And you know what I mean? Like, we don't need to do that yet. Like, let's do the first thing first. Like, the pull-up threes and stuff like that, that's integrals, man. That's like for the top guys. Like, let's make sure we hammer down the fundamentals. So I actually really like this game from Scottie. I thought more than anything else, I was kind of just relieved too because of the fact that, his mobility was good. That didn't seem like that much of an issue. Although the start of the game, he really did look like he was limping around, but over the bulk of the game, he was playing really well. The other part I didn't fully understand, but again, I guess the game wasn't necessarily played in such a physical manner, but, like, it was a 30-point game to start the fourth quarter, and Scottie played for, like, the next 8 minutes afterwards, and I was, like, a little bit surprised. Again, like, if Darko's going to say, well, Scottie's really banged up, he can't judge him right now, he's not himself, throw that out there. Then on the second half of back-to-back, when you're playing on the road and you're down 30 to start the fourth quarter, why is he out there for 8 straight minutes, right? So, like, and I'm not trying to, like, call people out. I'm just like, there's got to be some incongruencies here. Of course, like, there's other things at play. I know some people have sort of throughout various sort of conspiracies in terms of, well, not conspiracies, but just possible reasons, right? I don't want to say that. I'm not going to rule them out by calling them conspiracies, but, like, it's a 65 game rule that you got to, hit for award season. It's also all-star season. It's New York in the Garden. Like, we all remember 3 years ago when it was, all-star time and Pascal goes in the Garden, scores 52 in the Garden. And that ultimately led to him becoming voted in as an all-star, right? Like those type of moments really do matter when you're in sort of the mecca, right? So like again, like those are all possible factors. But I mean, beyond all that, I don't really care about all that kind of stuff. Like, that's all bonus. That's all gravy. I think for me, it's just he was moving well, and I actually really liked his approach to the game. So I'm not saying abandon the threes. I'm thinking that there's obviously some good threes, some bad threes, but also at the same time, when you take that kind of shot, it's like it comes at the expense of the other stuff. And I like the other stuff, the mid range, the going to the basket, playing the middle of the floor where he's able to sort of pick, players out even more, right? Like it's an easier pass to sort of pass in the middle of the floor. The double teams, you see them coming a little bit better. All that stuff is really good. So, and I also really liked his effort defensively. Sometimes obviously he's fighting uphill against a center like Cat. But, Scotty boxing him out and even slide little things like exaggerating and yelling and getting the sort of like referee to notice on a box out that Cat's pushing him around and getting the calls, like that's a sign of him competing for me. So I just thought Scotty played a really nice game. The other part too was RJ Barrett was able to return to the lineup. And, it was a funny thing because I was watching the warm up. I'm just always watching the warm up, man. So I was watching the warm up yesterday when the Raptors were in Toronto, obviously playing the Houston Rockets, and I noticed that RJ went through the warm up, but then he kind of like usually after the warm up they'll kind of like go to the side, they'll sit with an assistant coach who has a laptop, and then they watch a bit of film, and that's typically just like one of the film sessions, I guess, because they also have a team film session that they do as a group in the locker room. But after their warm-ups, they usually sit down with their assistant coaches and go through watching a warm-up. And I noticed that RJ didn't do that, and he just ran straight to the locker room, kind of holding his mouth. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. He didn't sign the jerseys like the stuff that he usually does, too. There's always people there kind of hanging around the tunnel, and RJ's usually very, very good at making sure to stop and sign people's jerseys. He just ran straight to the locker room holding his mouth. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, right? Obviously, he was ruled out with the illness. Darko did provide after the game that he was fully ready to go. He was going to give it a go. He went through walkthrough. He went through pregame. And then he was going to play, but then he like started throwing up a little bit. And it was like, oh, okay, that fully explains it. So, we didn't know sort of like where RJ was going to be. Of course, it seemed like RJ was close enough to play. And obviously, like last second health complications come up. Of course, like if you're going to throw up, please do not play. But like, yeah, he comes back to the lineup tonight, and again, it didn't make a difference. The Knicks, obviously, they were just cooking like crazy, but it is great to have RJ back in the lineup, no matter what. Like, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists for RJ Barrett, 7 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 8 of 11 from the foul line. Just another super efficient outing from RJ, who just did a great job overall of just attacking the basket. It's always, and I said this the last time because the Raptors played the Knicks 2 weeks ago when Scotty hurt his ankle the first time against Cat, where that game RJ finished with 30, and of course that didn't end up like making the difference in terms of getting the win. And I think maybe down the stretch, obviously New York had more crunch time offense than Toronto going through RJ, but like. And there were all these things about like, RJ's defense and this and that. I'm like, yeah, this is valid. Like, I'm happy to come here and talk about, the players and try to be fair about all that kind of stuff. But like, can we not ignore the fact that this guy's getting guarded by OG Anunoby, and he had 30 the last game? And this game, he comes out here and first couple possessions going straight at OG and sort of like taking him off the dribble and throwing little push floaters and things like that. Obviously, OG ended up outplaying him in this game. That happens. OG's a very good player as well. We know that. The Knicks traded RJ and IQ just to get OG, right? Like, we know that. But at the same time, like, let's just not overlook what RJ's doing. And I thought that he came in the back of the lineup, went back to doing exactly what he's been doing all season, especially playing off of Scotty. He doesn't have as much pressure in terms of the defense completely collapsing on him. But even those moments when, Knicks are like double teaming him and stuff like that, he's able to sort of spin, go through that, finish at the basket. A lot of really nice stuff from RJ. Knocked down a corner 3 as well. In the corner, turn around, looked at the bench. I'm like, yeah, it's a 28-point game. But, I still like that, a little bit of moxie going back against your former team. I think he's averaged like 25 in the 4 games since he's been traded. Of course, the Raptors have lost all the 4 games, but again, that's not his fault. Obviously, there were totally different timelines for the New York Knicks and the Toronto Raptors. But RJ back in the lineup, didn't throw up, end up throwing up a 23, 6 and 6. That was fun. It was fun seeing that. And of course, I think the other part too is just like, okay, so with Darko, and especially now that there's no Jacob. Without Jacob, you really start to feel just exactly how young this team is. Like, this team is so they're just so young. They're just like a bunch of like first, second, third year players running around out there, and they're trying to know what they can do. And obviously, like, they're playing hard. They're giving their best effort. Even this game tonight, they were down 30 in the fourth quarter. And I mean, I wouldn't even say they came back, but they at least cut it down to like, 11, 12 points. And again, the game was never in danger of flipping, but they still played hard to the last whistle. So you got to respect that first and foremost. But without Yak, they just feel like they feel a little lost, you know what I mean? And like, obviously Jonathan Mobo playing small ball 5, he's done that well at times this season, but the last 2 games here have been really difficult. Of course, you're also playing 2 all-star players in Alperen Şengün, who I think should be an all-star this year. Had a really good chance to make it all-star last year as well. And also Karl-Anthony Towns, who obviously is a multiple-time all-star, all-NBA type of player. So those are tough matchups, no doubt, right? But he just has not really been able to sort of like assert himself into these games. And I think that's obviously really, really difficult for him to do right now, in any capacity as a rookie. But he looked a little overwhelmed the last 2 games. That changes a lot because I haven't seen Jakob overwhelmed one time this season. He's always been a beacon for the team, literally like a port in the storm. Anytime a possession goes bad, throw it to Jakob, let him post up, let him sort of dribble handoff, let him, Gortat screen and seal a guy and create a lane for other guys. So he's just purely a cool head out there with some furry shoulders, and he's just doing good things for the team. Purely additive, right? Right now you replace him with Mobo, and it's like, oh man, all of a sudden there's a lot more question marks, right? There's not as many good screens to sort of get guys downhill and things like this. That's all very normal. But at the same time, like, the moxie of the young guys, they do end up winning you over when you watch these games. Again, especially because today, again, like, it's literally my birthday. I'm just chilling. Like, it is what it is. But you see the fearlessness of a Jacobe Walter, for example. Like, Jacobe, like, obviously last game he has 27. So you would at least think that he would be on a scouting report somewhere. Tonight he goes 16 points in 24 minutes off the bench. And don't even look at the off the bench, because second half, Darko actually started him. They took Mobo, put him to the second unit. They started Jacobe. They put Scotty as a small ball 5. They switched a lot more. Kind of similar to what they did in previous matchups against New York as well. Where they were sort of switching more late. Of course, this time the game was kind of out of hand, so they did it earlier. But still, they put Jacobe out there, and he's just fearless, man. Like, I think with me watching Jacobe, like, Jacobe is kind of like a symbol for the Raptors as a whole this season. Like, super young, ultimately it's not going to be enough to sort of overcome these like experienced teams who know who they are, who have star players who obviously can execute. But watching Jacobe out there was really, really fun. The start of this game, he makes a baseline cut, tippy-toeing along the baseline, and finishes a reverse layup with a nice pass from Scotty Barnes, high-low, right? What Scotty was driving, the help came out of the corner. Jacobe was able to dive out of that, cut behind the help defender, and he was able to get open for the layup. Great pass, great play, great finish, right? Then he's driving through contact and he's finishing in traffic. Honestly, in a few seasons, when he gets a little bit more respect and a little bit more rep with the officials, he probably gets an and one in that type of situation. He got lots of respect today. Don't get me wrong. Like, he shot a lot of free throws, but that one should have been an and one, but still was strong enough to finish through contact. A couple plays later, there's a loose ball in the middle on the Knicks logo. And, Jacobe's actually second to the play, but he dives on the floor and wrestles, I forget who it was, probably Payne. Out wrestles Payne, wins the loose ball, sort of like he's on the ground. He just like shoves it ahead of him on just the ball rolling slightly ahead. And that led to the Raptors getting a breakaway layup for Davion Mitchell. But if you don't fight that hard, again, like, not only you dive on the floor for the possession, but you win it. And then you not only win it, you actually push it ahead. Because, like, a lot of players, they dive on the floor, they force a jump ball. It's him against the point guard. He probably wins it anyway. But that doesn't give the Raptors a fast break. That type of effort from a rookie to play like that is fearless, man. Especially a guy who's already, hurt his shoulder twice this season. To throw his body around like that was really, really impressive. And then this is what wins me over. Because, like, you know what? Whether it's the Raptors versus the Knicks in NBA basketball, or it's preseason basketball, or it's summer league basketball, or damn it, if it's even pickup basketball, if it's me versus Trevor Louis in the paint, and this guy who's 50 plus, shouts to Trevor though, stay blessed, and he's in the post and he's about to get a layup on me because he got inside position, I'm gonna wrap him up and prevent the layup. And you saw Jacobe today jump in, grab Anthony Towns up above the waist, like on the arms, obviously making a play on the ball, but grab him, grab the ball, attack the ball, and obviously he was fouling him. And obviously there was already a foul, so I guess this is just preventing an and one. But he almost dragged Karl all the way to the ground just to prevent the layup. Like, that's what I want to see, man. Like, that's the stuff that like wins you over. Like, not only for fans watching this with the effort, but your teammates too. Because like in a game where again it was kind of like a pickup game for half of it, really, the second half. Seeing Jacobe play that hard, especially at the start of the game when there was still something at least to fight for potentially, I love that stuff, man. That was really, really fun. So shouts to Jacobe. Obviously he drew a ton of free throws towards the end as well, so he ends up going 8 for 10 from the foul line, 4 or 5 from the field, only missed a corner 3. That was a really good look too. Had 2 blocks. But yeah, I mean, just head over heels for Jacobe, man. He just continues to be a standout player. Other than that, I mean, it was just a lot of watching the Knicks like do whatever they wanted. I mean, the Knicks are obviously like the Raptors are not in any position to really fight with the Knicks. Like the Raptors are not a team like Orlando, for example. We talked about Orlando, me and Alex, on the episode this week where we talked about sort of NBA tiers and we sort of tiered the whole league. So we got to comment on pretty much the entire league, and we got to the Magic, and my comment with the Magic was just like they got crazy good team chemistry, like, and it's great team culture as well. Because like you can use injuries as an excuse. You can like, and honestly, lots of teams get banged up. No team has been banged up as badly as the Magic, though, man. Like, this is crazy. They start the season, they're obviously a really promising team they want to build on last year. Then Paolo Banchero, injures himself. Then, okay, fine, no Paolo Banchero. They're already a team that struggles with offense. But do they fall off? No. They actually get playing even better because Franz Wagner steps up and puts up crazy numbers, hits game winners, goes for 30 plus over and over again. And they're just winning like crazy. And then all of a sudden, he gets injured on the same injury as Paolo Banchero. And they're like, well, what do we do? Then Jalen Suggs steps up. Then his brother, Mo Wagner, who's been like a journeyman, really. Well, not a journeyman, but like, he's just a bench big. You know what I mean? Like, no, he starts like cooking as well. Then he tears his ACL. That sucks. Do you see what the lineup that they had tonight? And by the way, they beat the Boston Celtics tonight. And obviously the Celtics, you got Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. Okay, so obviously Jason Tatum didn't play, whatever. But like, that's still 5 damn good players, right? Versus Tristan da Silva, who was drafted, I think, 1 pick ahead of Jacobe at 18. I actually really like Tristan as well. He had a really good year, for a couple of good years at Colorado. He's a little older, but certainly had an NBA ready game. And Tristan da Silva, Goga Batadze, who, I mean, come on, man, that's a Harry Potter spell. I mean, Contavious Caldwell Pope, that's another Harry Potter spell. But like Trevelyan Queen, right? You got to be a real diehard fan to know Trevelyan Queen. And then Jalen Suggs, and then Jonathan Isaac, and Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, all these guys off the bench. They go and beat Boston with that, and that's, to me, this is like really, really impressive team culture. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know what my point was, but this was like, you get to that point where Orlando is. That's like the ideal point of a rebuild. I know everyone talks about OKC's rebuild. Orlando's rebuild is really good. those things have in common, though, is really good team culture, right? Because like when the young team, before they start becoming heavyweights, they start punching above their weight. And I think Orlando's been punching above their weight all season. Again, like they're missing so many guys. The only guys that healthy they didn't play were Corey Joseph and Caleb Houston. And honestly, if they put those guys in the game, they probably do well too. It's like that, to me, is like a sign of really good culture. And OKC had that as well. Indiana had a bit of that too last year before their seasons. They've been a weird team ever since. But like regardless, I'm waiting for the Raptors to get back to that type of moment. Obviously, they're in year 1 of the rebuild. I'm sure there were lots of ugly year 1 of the rebuild for Orlando looking games back when they were coming up. But, you do want to look around the league and just get a little perspective on like what other teams are doing and what's possible. And, obviously like Raptors didn't have it tonight. They're in no position really to compete with the Knicks. But at the same time, like, the only thing, and again, like I was super chill about this whole game. I'm pretty excited. Again, like, I'm sitting back and chilling, really. It's literally my birthday, Christmas coming up. Like, I'm pretty excited. Got all my gifts done finally. Excited to see my family, excited to see some friends. And the only thing I'm watching this game, I'm like, I do wish the Raptors had just a little bit of that tone on defense. That what Jacobe did in terms of avoiding the and one on Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Jacobe's not even that strong of a defender right now, let's be honest. He's fouling like crazy. But a little bit of that goes a long way, and I want to see a little more of that from all of their guys across the board. But again, for now, it's a totally different tier between the two sides. So we are going to take a quick break. We are going to hear from many of our beloved sponsors. And of course, afterwards, we are going to hear from you guys in the chat. Please continue to leave your questions in the stream. Producer Jerome Chang will be looking for those. And of course, hit like on the stream as well. I mean, don't make me beg on my birthday, but like just hit like and hit subscribe. Write a little review. Just a little something. I know you guys are off work right now. It's a good time to do so. So let's take that quick break, and then we'll get back with your questions.
Hey, man.
Hey, buddy.
Just recently hit the big 4-0. What about you, bro?
A little more recently 4-0, but we are both in the 40 club.
Let me tell you, man, being an adult really comes with its share of challenges.
Definitely. I think both you and I are homeowners, and I think we're both also dealing with mortgages in life.
Yeah, man. Mortgage rates, choosing the right terms, dealing with paperwork. It can be really overwhelming,
I still don't know how that works.
Well, listen. That's where our friends at Dominion Lending Centers come in, man. They make the whole process simple and stress-free. Whether you're renewing your mortgage, hunting for the best rates, or if you just need advice, they're here to help, bro.
You know what? I am looking for that advice, and I think that's why I'm going to visit www.dominionlending.ca.
Yeah, man. www.dominionlending.ca. Take the guesswork out of your mortgage and step into financial confidence with our friends at Dominion Lending by our side.
All right, Jerome.
What's up, Will? I thought I'd hang out with you for the Q&A. It's your birthday. You shouldn't have to do this alone.
Oh, okay. Let's do this together. I love when
Let's
we do
this together. Yeah.
All right, it's time now for the Tangerine fan inbox. And I got to remind you, Tangerine is not just the official bank of Hello and Welcome. Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of basketball, they're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who have their own nickname for each guy in the starting five, fans of fans who stand 5 inches from the TV, or fans who can recreate every layup package from their couch. Jerome, can we get you to demonstrate a little Jacobe push floater? Very fundamental. Thank you. If you're hearing this, there's no doubt in your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year, for the Raptors' 30th season, and let's be honest, Raptors are obviously not having a great season in terms of wins and losses. Tangerine is turning the spotlight away from the court to the stand, celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. All right, Jerome, what else you got, man?
Well, in the spirit of the holiday season, in the starting lineup, who gets Cole a thoughtful gift and who gets the red envelope?
Oh, do we even have to explain the red envelope? Red envelope is it's the most forthright expression of love in Asian culture.
Mm.
Yeah. So sometimes, you might have heard we sometimes struggle to say things like, I love you within the family. You know what I mean? Sometimes we keep that emotion. We say I love you by getting on the floor, tapping your head to the ground and bowing to your parents. And then they hand you a red envelope. And you might think, this is a very sweet, really sweet ceremony, like so thoughtful. What does that mean? The red envelope contains money for you to spend. Okay,
it's what makes Lunar New Year so much better than like regular New Year, to be honest.
It's legit the best thing possible. It's my favorite gift of all time is a red envelope.
Okay, so who gets, I don't know that, we're a chill group today. I don't know if we're going to give anyone coal today, but let's get some thoughtful gifts.
Let's get some thoughtful gifts. So in this game, I'm going to give the red envelope to Scotty because you know what? He is banged up. He's playing through, again, like we see the eye, we see the ankle, the hip, we didn't even see, but like, again, he's banged up, but he's got the hardest job. He's going up against Karl Anthony Towns. He's going up against all these expectations too. He's still human after all. And then, he's also kind of being like, I guess I shot all those threes that didn't work. Now I got to go in the paint. I like that he changed this game. I like that he bounced back. A great player like this shouldn't have 2 bad games in a row, especially when you're leading the team. Didn't change the outcome, but I see the respect, man. So
I like that for Scotty. I'm gonna say with his contract, he doesn't need a lot of money in that red envelope. I think like a nice easy 5 would be good. But like the red envelope's also good for good fortune, and I think with his health, I think he could use that.
Wow, so Asian of you. This man handed a fortune. Oh, brother. Okay, who's getting Cole?
I don't. Are we gonna give
you know
Cole?
Getting Cole?
Okay,
You know
who's
who's getting
getting
Cole in this game? Payne, bro. What kind of revenge game
Yeah.
comes from a player who got cut in Quebec City, bro? We took you to Chateau Frontenac, and this is how you repay us with these diagonal ass threes. That was terrible, man. Yeah, he was cooking us though. I can't even lie.
Like I said in our chat, he plays basketball like a Street Fighter character, just moving sideways and releasing that way.
Bro, by the way, I got a top 5 least aesthetic starting 5 of just NBA players.
Are you gonna drop that right now, or do you want?
Yeah. So me and friend of the program, Blake Murphy, were chatting during the game, and we were just like kind of just talking about campaign and how much I can't believe the Raptors getting cooked by campaign. And we got around to the fact that like campaign has one of the ugliest games in the league. No disrespect, clearly very effective, right? So we made a starting 5 of ugly, least aesthetic all stars. All right, number 1 at point guard, campaign. Shooting guard, Nets, Ben Simmons, because I honestly think Sixers Ben Simmons was actually pretty cool. But
he was
Ben
smooth.
Simmons, Nets Ben Simmons is the shooting guard for me. Small forward. Speaking of red envelopes, Lee Kyer, Kyle Anderson. You got a non-aesthetic game at power forward. Unfortunately, Chris a little unorthodox, but you know he got a bit of that. You know he kind of fits on this list. I don't want to
shout out Vince talking about the follow through though.
Oh, well, Vince will be.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
And then of course at center, Joel Embiid.
Oh my gosh!
No questions asked, bro.
That's
Joel
a nice
Embiid.
send off for Joel tonight.
That's not the first one we got tonight.
All right, let's give one thoughtful gift. Who do you want to give a thoughtful gift to?
A thoughtful gift. Honestly, what am I gonna give a thoughtful gift to, man? I want to give a thoughtful gift to Darko. I feel like bro has had a hard time since becoming a head coach. I mean, look, obviously I can be hard on people sometimes, right? So like I've given Darko a hard time. You know, I think the Raptors themselves have given Darko a hard time. I think the guy who's given Darko the hardest time is Masai and Bobby. They've given him a hard time.
Right.
That guy is still a beaming ray of positivity though. And he does his job. The players love him. And obviously there's not that much he can do. He's not a perfect person. But he gets up to work. He puts on a smile. He does it every single day. I feel like he deserves a thoughtful gift, man.
How about this for the gift? We take the Raptors chain, miniature size it, and give him a nice little Christmas ornament version of that.
Okay, yeah. Kalani gang, let's go. I'm
let's
texting
go.
my guys like Kalani to get to work.
All right. Well, next question here from our friend Tina. Like, since you are the warm-up report segment person, who would you have sponsor that segment?
Oh my God, that's actually great. Because we do obviously really invite partners to come work with us here on this show. I know for a lot of fans when they were like, Will and Alex are going independent, like how are they going to do it? You know, are they going to charge us? It's going to be Patreon. We're not going to charge you money to listen to the podcast, man. Like we're going to make this as accessible as possible. Like, but of course what makes that possible is also the support that we're able to get from the Nation Network and also from our beloved sponsors on the show. The warm-up report though, this is like a sellable segment, you know, not to take it back to our 11 o'clock sales meeting. nothing
Not
a man
the
loves more on his
bi-weekly.
birthday than a bi-weekly sales meeting. But this is actually a sellable idea. I kind of like it, like maybe like
who do you want as your sponsor?
Like a food courier service. You know what I mean? You know what? A warm-up report. You know what I mean? Because like, you know.
As in like warming up. Like, okay.
Yeah, your food's warming up. It's on its way. You know what I mean? You're about to get it. The game is the meal.
I have one for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, the way I think of warm-ups sometimes, especially in the case of this, is like they're in their warm-ups. And Will, where do you purchase all your warm-ups?
Is this a trick question? Because you know it's SVP.
I think we should get SVP to send you warm-ups nonstop, one after another. You wear a warm-up from SVP for every report. I think that's what should happen.
If I'm not wearing the signature Burdock's brewery sweater, or if I'm not wearing the free giveaways that we get, which happens a lot, shouts to again all our friends around the city, but yeah, like I would say yes, cool 70 to 80% of my wardrobe is SVP related. Shouts to my Trey Young 3's again, you know.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
All right,
great
on
idea,
to
we should sell that.
You were actually preparing a segment for this that you told me pre-show, and then we had this wonderful question that would help lead you off for it. Question for birthday Will. What did you think of Vince on the mic tonight?
Okay, so big shots to Clayton. I think it is so important that when you have games like this that are very obviously lopsided, and they're kind of lopsided for like the majority of the game, you need to be able to hold the conversation and keep it entertaining. And this is where, like, I think Sportsnet has done an amazing job of investing in the Raptors product. And, you know, this obviously goes, you know, I'm putting my cards on the table. Obviously, you know, they were like, we want to make a Raptors dedicated show. And, you know, 3-4 years ago, I was able to go there with Alex and, you know, be a huge part of that launch to launch the Raptors show. That's a huge investment. And they put more resources in. They put it in a better studio. They put it on TV. Obviously, they made it 2 hours. It's not 2 hours anymore. It's at, you know, now it's 11. It's not on YouTube anymore. But still, like, they put a lot of investment into that, right? You get weekly appearances from like Dennis and Garrett Temple. That's paid. You know what I mean? Like that's actual investment going into trying to make a better product for Raptor fans. And I think this year in particular, obviously Vince getting his jersey retired. This is the year of Vince Carter, right? The Nets are honoring him. The Raptors are honoring him. He's going into the Hall of Fame. It's all really beautiful. But to get him on 8 games this year on the broadcast, I can't lie. Like, it has been such a pleasure to watch Vince just be able to be himself, be comfortable, be at peace with Raptor fans. And then also, he's also there with his great friend, Alvin Williams. Like, Alvin and Vince are such close friends. Obviously dating back to their days as teammates on the Raptors, but hearing them sort of go back and forth and just talk about almost anything. Like you saw in this game, Raptors down 30 points, and you hear them talking about, and these are real things they talked about in the broadcast, right? We got like, you know, they're talking about ABCD camp. They're talking about 5-star camp, right? They're talking about Tim Thomas was a problem back in the day because I mean, they were calling him Thomas on the broadcast. At one point, OG had 39 points in the third quarter, and Vince out of nowhere was like, yo, remember when Kobe had 60 in 3 quarters? That was cool, right? Of course, the following game, Kobe had the 81 against Toronto. Shouts to Matt Bonner in that game too. But like, you know, and the funniest recurring segment was anytime Chris Boucher hit a 3, Vince Carter would be like, you know, I told Vince, you know, just keep the follow through, like leave the shot up there, because he was leaving it short. So he was like telling him to shoot higher. And Chris was obviously swishing a bunch of 3s tonight. So I just thought it was a really entertaining broadcast. And on top of that, you saw all the ads, right? They've been running, obviously, you know, and they should promote this because I think it's going to be a lot of, you know, interesting things said in these documentary series. But as part of the Raptors 30th anniversary, Sportsnet has gone to sort of produce these this big project in terms of just like highlighting the history of the Raptors over 30 years. And again, like, this is something that like the Raptors should be doing, and the Raptors are doing, obviously, like they're doing their part to make the 30th anniversary a big deal too. But for a company like this to invest the resources, to go all over the place, interview all these people, right? Everybody that you would think of relevant to the Raptors history is part of this 4-part documentary series. And I think the first one comes out on Boxing Day. I'm really excited to see this because I know, you know, people on that side like Marty Paul, you know, like these guys who, you know, have really worked a long time on the broadcast, have tried to invest more money into the broadcast and just make the Raptors product better. Like, I actually want to see the fruits of that labor. And I think that it's going to be really impressive. Even just a little teasers here and there about like hearing Damon about him, you know, regretting leaving the Raptors and hearing them speak so frankly about what that early period was like. Obviously, I read Prehistoric by Alex Wong. And he has done the best project here of highlighting that first year of the Toronto Raptors coming into existence. But I just think overall, I really got to give it up to Sportsnet for how much they've invested in Raptors content. So, yeah, that's the last one. Is there more questions, Jerome? Or I just wanted to say, like, that was actually really cool.
I thought you had a list of things that you liked from the broadcast.
Oh, the things I liked from the broadcast. I mean, I mostly was just what they were talking about, like him, Thomas, Kobe, 60 in 3 quarters, Vince fixing Chris Boucher's 3. I think at halftime, Matt Bonner said on the panel with Danielle and
I sent this to you. Yeah,
Danielle and Sherman Hamilton. He said, you know, what do shooting and acts of kindness have in common? Answer: they're contagious.
Bar.
Barmelo's Anthony.
All right. Well, for the final bit here, I have a surprise segment for you.
Oh,
my birthday present to you, as someone who always cuts out all your surprise segments.
No.
It's a very simple one.
Okay. All right.
So you have been uncharacteristically positive on this podcast, which has been really impressive. And then we saw I saw this like lovely comment early on as we started saying we cooked.
Okay.
Which you can see here from Nice Win. So I thought I'd ask the chat, how cooked are we in holiday terms? So we have a couple of them back.
Let's go.
Victor Oliveira said, Raptors are so cooked, they sticking to the bottom of the pot.
Gotta turn that heat down. Let it simmer.
Yeah. Clayton has wraps his leftover gravy with that layer on the top.
Ooh, that's tough, man. Gravy train does not stop with the Toronto Raptors, man. And it didn't stop with the Ford government either. Either one. Let's be honest.
Joseph Cassidy says, about 3 eggnogs and 2 holidays blunts cooked.
That's how I'm gonna be tomorrow and the day after. That's a weird high though. I can't even lie, man.
I don't know how it's gonna work out, but yeah, we might have to test that out.
The game. Yeah.
And then nice one back here. Soft like the mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Okay. I'll take that.
I mean, I rarely eat mashed potatoes. I mean,
Devon Landry, undercooked biscuits.
Yo, that's crazy.
That's a wild one right there. And this one here is not even a cooked one. This is our last one from the Taylor Vault. Raptors look like Mr. Bean with a giant turkey on his head.
Wait, is that a segment? I'm not that familiar with Mr. Bean. I know when Monica did this in Friends.
That was a Thanksgiving situation, though.
That was a Thanksgiving situation.
Yeah.
That was the episode where she finally admitted to Chandler that she loves him. And
yes.
She had the turkey head with the glasses, man.
And they turn around,
Friends,
yes.
Bro. Learned so much
Shouts
about
to
white culture through Friends. I'm not even kidding.
Yes, that's a Mr. Bean moment. I believe from like the Mr. Bean Christmas special.
Okay.
Very silly Rowan Atkinson physical humor.
Of course. Shouts to Mr. Bean.
Shouts to Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
And that's it for the Tangerine segment.
Well, that was fun.
That was good.
I mean, if you had real hoop questions, this was not the game for it. Like,
this was not. I was honest in the chat. I said, look, we're not going to answer that today.
Yeah. That's not a day. I know. That's what I see here, man. Question: when will Pelly bust Ujiri out the door? Like,
we don't need to answer. Come on,
Christmas.
We are not Ebenezer Scrooge out here
Jim,
sending them out.
This after a difficult loss in January. Not this one. Anyway, Jerome, I appreciate you. To the listeners, I appreciate you. I'm gonna hand out the 3 stars and wrap up shortly here. First, the 3 stars. First, I'm gonna give it to Scotty again. Like, I love the approach tonight. And I know that he's working on the 3, but let's just not forget about the mid-range and the post stuff, going to the basket, dominating the paint, using his size. You know, like, maybe I'm a basketball fundamentalist or a traditionalist or whatever you want to call it, but I like this stuff, man. It was a really good game from Scotty tonight. And he had a fight all the way uphill. But to be a -2 when the Raptors get blown up by 30, like, that's good. RJ is going to get my 2nd star. Welcome back to the lineup, RJ. 23 points, 6 rebounds. Riding shotgun with Scotty, shooting above 50% from the field, getting to the foul line 11 times. You know, I mean, listen, if you can score an OG a couple times in a game, that's really difficult. And RJ's done that in every matchup since. So that's been really nice to see. Hopefully he'll get a win against New York one day. I do want him to at least get one of these against his former club. And then your 3rd star, I want to give it to Jacobe, but at the same time, Jacobe's gotten a couple times. Yeah, it's either him or Chris Boucher. I'll give it to Chris. Chris had 16 points, 4 or 5 from 3. If Vince Carter really did fix Chris Boucher's 3 after all this time, I mean, shouts to Vince. I mean, I think these little tweaks are kind of cool. I think one of the things is just cool that Vince has been able to come back and just like even give a little bit of game onto the current Raptors. I mean, Vince played for the Raptors like 20 years ago. You see these highlights they're playing. It's in standard definition, 480p. Like, the fact that he played that long ago and he still has this active tie and connection to the team is incredible. Also, you never know how long Vince played until you're like, Vince was like, yeah, I remember being guarded by OG. He was really quiet as a rookie. I'm like, oh yeah, Vince he played so long. He played against OG. But in any case, yeah, Chris, you're getting the 3rd star. Jacobe another time. Gerald Henderson award winner. I don't even want to beat this. Actually, it's campaign. It's absolutely campaign. Like 19 points. It's not just the 19. It's the fact that he scored them mostly in the end of that first quarter, start of the second quarter moment, where it really broke the game open and gave the Knicks a huge double-digit lead that they were relinquished basically the rest of the way. Campaign, respect to you, man. 19 and 15 points. Sorry, we shouldn't have cut you. Okay, in 2019, we're sorry. And then finally, your most important guy from this game, I've already said it, but Vince on the broadcast, that was a really, really enjoyable performance. I think the familiarity of Vince talking to not just Matt Devlin, who does a great job of being comfortable with everybody on air, except for Wale. Shouts to Wale. But, him talking to Alvin on the broadcast, a little buddy sort of cop situation, like, It's really fun. They keep it really positive, but I loved hearing about all these little moments. I love all the throwbacks to the old highlights, thinking about things like Vince on Christmas Day or them beating the Knicks in 2000. Like, all that stuff is so cool to me to see that. And my idea is, like, many years down the line, like probably a decade from now, when Kyle and DeMar both retired, I would love for like Sportsnet or TSN to just bring those guys into the broadcast and have that be a regular feature. It's just so much fun going through memory lane and going through that warmth and that feeling of sort of that friendship and that bond, which defined the Raptors eras from their time. Obviously, Alvin and Vince is from the early 2000s, but like 2010s onwards, that's Kyle and DeMar. I would love to see Kyle and DeMar on a broadcast in the future for a game with Matt Devlin in the middle of it. Try to keep them in line, but yeah, it was honestly a loss, but it was a fun loss. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks all of you for showing love, showing support. Big thanks to Jerome.
But wait, there's one more thing. We still have to talk about our last bit here.
What else is left?
We got a little bit left. Yeah. Well, okay. First thing, we have a couple of these. I just don't want to lose out. We got a happy birthday, Will, $2 from KJ.
Thank you. That's what I wanted. That's a red envelope. That's a red envelope with $2.
Yeah, it's a red envelope. Yeah. Andrew Smythe with a $5.
With a $5. Wow.
And the message, happy birthday, Will. Thanks for the excellent content.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Which is really nice. The last bit here, this is our last React pod before the holidays. And
Sure.
While we're gone, once your Christmas is done, there is Boxing Day that's coming up.
It's my favorite capitalist holiday of the year, baby. Right next to Black Friday.
There
and
you
Cyber
go.
Monday.
And for Boxing Day, our merch site, nationgear.ca, is doing a Boxing Day sale.
Okay.
It is going on from December 26th to the 29th.
Nice.
For purchases $200 and above. My mom just waved to me as she goes to sleep. I'm at my parents for Christmas.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Purchases over $200, it is 20% off and free shipping. So if you haven't gotten a chance to get any of our merch, it's a good opportunity. You can cop yourself any amount of hats, T-shirts, and even a Wongstradamus hoodie over here.
This is what I recommend. I recommend getting all your friends who are fans of the program together on this thing so you can save on the shipping. You know what I mean? I love a good deal. Yeah. Of course, you got to hit the minimum guarantee here, and you got to get the 200. So, like, get a couple of items together. That hoodie's fire, though, man. The Wongstradamus hoodie, like, you know what I mean? When someone sees that, when someone who knows the show and understands the inside jokes sees that in the streets, they're going to get a great kick out of it. And why else do we wear merch if not to sort of tell inside jokes to each other?
Exactly. It's all a bit.
It's all a bit. It's
all
actually all a bit. So, Jerome, love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Hopefully, I see you at Shing on Christmas.
You get that Go Train back right away, buddy.
Ooh, I'm about to be Rakeem Christmas, man.
But yes, thank you, everyone.
Maryland's Noel. Yeah, seriously. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We're going to obviously still have the post-game reaction podcast. So, there's that. But from now until then, we're basically just going to do React pods. We're gonna maybe throw a banter pod that isn't necessarily a banter pod at you, but again, more chill content. And of course, we'll be back at it in the new year. Big thanks to all our guests for coming on this season as well, and most importantly, big thanks to everyone for listening. Hit the like button on the way out. Have a safe, happy holidays from all of us here at Hello and Welcome. And this has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. See ya.